books here that represent something we all consider very important in the history of the city of West Palm Beach. And this isn't all that long ago, because it was back when I was doing research to help people back in the 80s, early 90s for that matter. If you wanted to research the history of the city of West Palm Beach in a book, you really did have to go to a book on Palm Beach, the town of Palm Beach, because the history of the two cities is so very much mutually tied in. But in more recent years, we're happy to say, people have provided us some wonderful books on the history of the city of West Palm Beach proper. West Palm Beach Centennial, Pioneers in Paradise, and of course the ones on the county, Historic Photos of Palm Beach County, and of course the Donald Curl book on Palm Beach County. Wonderful, wonderful information in these books. If you're looking for history of city of West Palm Beach and you don't have a lot of time to do your research, these are the books you want to be looking at. I selected this one, again with the photos. Very, very often people are coming to us to do research. They've done their research. They've been able to do their research online, other resources, but they're wanting something pictorial to add. Books like this can be very valuable. Historic Photos of Palm Beach County. And I just happened to flip open to this particular page. Look at what we're looking at. As part of its mission to create jobs, FERA assisted cities and towns with community enrichment projects. The West Palm Beach Parks and Recreation Department showed off its new City Park open-air auditorium, complete with band shell and facilities, shortly after completion. This photo was made May 2nd, 1935. So that was there on the property not too far away from where the Memorial Library was that had been built in 1925. And of course nowadays, if you look at that, what comes to mind is the Meyer Amphitheater, the modern day equivalent, if you will, of that, and not too far away from the location that was in. So, great source of pictures. And to get back again to some of the books over here, this one, I had a patron call the library the other day looking for a book on Palm Beach Gardens. And fortunately, this book, we own it, and it's cataloged. It's in our database. And you can see how it's in a different kind of cover. When you open it up, there's the original book, Palm Beach Gardens. So the original book, which is thin, it's a paperback, and as you look through it, it's not all that large, but at one time, a great many libraries did own this book. Nowadays, as you know, as time goes on, things become less and less available. And apparently, we're one of the very few libraries that does still own this book, because the patron said he had searched many, many libraries and was thrilled to find that we had it here. And at one time, of course, we had tried to preserve it a little bit in this nice, handy-dandy hardcover to keep the pages from getting quite so frayed. Which leads us to another topic. Quite recently, we were very privileged to be awarded a grant. And the grant was from the National Endowment for the Humanities. It was a grant for preservation. And I want to get the right information on it. It was a grant, National Endowment for the Humanities Preservation Assistance Grant. We were quite pleased to be awarded this grant. And a professional preservation consultant came and visited us and assessed our Florida collection in terms of possibilities for preservation, gave us some wonderful information, and provided us some great ideas for preservation from her expertise. She said she was thrilled to see the conditions of the building. Of course, it's a new building. She had provided us some monitoring equipment for temperature, humidity, that sort of thing, to assess the conditions in which the books and the other materials are being housed. And she said it's excellent. All of the monitoring equipment that she had in our building had returned excellent results. So it's good to know that our materials are in very good conditions for preservation possibilities. There are other considerations, of course, for preservation, but that is a big consideration in trying to preserve some of these old, very brittle things. Someday, of course, it would be nice to digitize some of the things that are old and unique, but that's for another project, another grant someday. Okay. And now it's time to get on to another book on West Palm Beach that I find people who come to the library looking for things on West Palm Beach find this book very helpful. Historic Preservation Design Guidelines Handbook. And it was prepared, in fact, by Mary Brandenburg, among others, who had at one time been on our library's board. Let's see what we've got here. There we go. Mary Brandenburg and William Dale Waters. And just turning to one particular page, people are looking for information on the various historic districts in the city. And again, I just happened to turn to the page on Northwest Historic District. You get some great plans, maps, photos, wonderful information. A very helpful book for researchers. And we just have a few more to look at here. This was another one on West Palm Beach that we acquired fairly recently. Again, very nice to have a book on anything, on the history of the city itself, the city proper. And now we're getting along to some things that are of more general interest. Names you may or may not have ever heard of, but if you haven't heard of them, if you live here locally, if you're at all interested in local history, colorful history, flavorful history, the Chillingworth murder case. Fascinating. The murder trial of Judge Peel. And of course the notorious Ashley Gang. These are names that are famous, infamous in some cases, in local history, and just a lot of fun to read about. Very, very interesting. They crop up from time to time. We talked about the Barefoot Mailman. And the other books I did want to show you, people who are doing genealogical research find these very useful. The Municipal Cemeteries of Lake Worth, Woodlawn Cemetery, and A History of Evergreen Cemetery. Obviously, historical genealogical research, looking at the cemetery listings, can be very beneficial. That takes care of those. And these I just pulled out because our preservationist, who came with the grant, pointed out to us that she thought it was wonderful that we had done some preserving of our own, if you will, trying to keep things intact with their little hard covers. And she gave us some tips, of course, for additional preservation techniques and some additional preservation techniques because these things get very old and very brittle. A little pocket folder to keep it so it isn't just sitting on this shelf bare, naked. And that pretty well covers what I had in that section. Obviously, there are a great many things in this room we haven't talked about. Florida Historical Quarterly, these were journals, periodicals that were bound. It's true of a great many of the historical journals. And we have, let's see, and we have some fiction, some old historical fiction. And of course, general history on the state itself. Let's see if there's anything else we want to look at in here before we go into the adjoining room. Nope, I think that pretty well takes care of it.